My girlfriend said she was going on a business trip out of town for the weekend. 2 days later, my buddy had a family emergency, and I ended up doing the last Uber Eats delivery of his route for him. When the door opened at an all-too-familiar address right in the city, she was standing there wearing his shirt. Her name was Grace. We'd been together for 2 years, living in my apartment for the last one. On the surface, things were good, but underneath, there was always this current of anxiety with her, this feeling that I was constantly being judged against some invisible standard. She was obsessed with appearances, with the right people, the right restaurants, the right everything. I always felt like a component in the perfect life she was trying to build, not a partner. The last few months she'd become distant, always on her phone, with a little smirk on her face that I wasn't a part of. Last Thursday, she came home with big news. Her company was sending her on a mandatory leadership retreat. It was in a city about 3 hours away, and she'd be gone from Friday morning until Sunday night. She made it sound like a huge deal, a major step for her career. She showed me the brochure for the conference center, a fancy place with golf courses and a spa. It all seemed legitimate. So, I played the supportive boyfriend. I helped her pack, told her to have a great time, and kissed her goodbye Friday morning as she wheeled her suitcase out the door. The apartment felt quiet and empty after she left. I had a weird feeling in my gut, a low hum of suspicion I couldn't quite place, but I told myself I was just being paranoid. I had no reason not to trust her, right? I spent Friday night just relaxing, watching a movie, enjoying the space. On Saturday, I was trying to figure out what to do with myself when my best friend, Dave, called. Dave works a regular 9 to 5 during the week, but he does Uber Eats on the weekends to pay off his student loans faster. He was in the middle of a route and was bored out of his mind. He asked if I wanted to ride along with him for a few hours, just to hang out and keep him company. I had nothing better to do, so I agreed. It beat sitting around my quiet apartment, thinking about Grace's business trip. We spent the next few hours driving around, listening to music, and talking trash like we always do. It was a perfectly normal, uneventful Saturday afternoon. We were on our last delivery of a dinner rush when Dave's phone rang. It was his sister. His mom had slipped and fallen, and they were on their way to the emergency room. It wasn't life-threatening, but she was in a lot of pain and he needed to get there right away. He was instantly panicked. He pulled the car over, his face pale. "Man, I have to go," he said, shaking a little. "But I've got this last order. The customer has been waiting for it. I can't just cancel it." He looked at me, his eyes pleading. "Could you do me a huge favor and drop this off? The address is only like 10 minutes from here. I'll owe you big time." "Of course, man," I said immediately. "Don't even worry about it. Go be with your mom." He thanked me, jumped out of the car, and took off down the street to grab a taxi. I slid into the driver's seat of his beat-up sedan, the smell of 100 different meals hanging in the air. I grabbed his phone. He has 2 phones, one for Uber Eats alone, looked at the Uber Eats app, and put the address into my GPS. The name on the order was just Alex. The address was for a new high-rise condo building downtown, one of those flashy glass towers that had just been finished a few months ago. I recognized the street. It wasn't far from where I worked. I figured it would be a quick and easy drop-off. I found the building, parked illegally for a minute, and grabbed the sealed paper bag from the passenger seat. The concierge in the lobby pointed me to the elevators, and I rode up to the 27th floor. I found the apartment and rang the doorbell. I could hear music playing inside. I stood there for a moment, shifting the bag in my hand, ready to do the whole polite handoff and get back to Dave's car. The door swung open, and my world tilted on its axis. It was Grace, my Grace, the girlfriend who was supposed to be 3 hours away at a leadership retreat. She was wearing a man's oversized, wrinkled, blue button-down shirt. It was unbuttoned just enough to show she had nothing on underneath. Her hair was a mess, the kind of mess that happens when you've been in bed all day. For a split second, she didn't recognize me. She just saw a delivery guy. Then her eyes focused and the color drained from her face. Behind her, a guy walked into the doorway, shirtless, rubbing a towel on his wet hair. He was tall, athletic, with a smug look on his face. I'd seen him once or twice before in pictures she'd shown me. It was Alex. her friend from college, the one she'd always described as being like a brother to her. The one I'd met briefly at a party a year ago and instantly disliked. He'd barely acknowledged my existence. The three of us stood there, frozen in a triangle of shock and betrayal. But Grace's shock morphed into something else first. Something ugly. Her face twisted not with guilt, but with disgust. At me. "What the hell are you doing here?" she hissed. "Why are you doing Uber Eats delivery? I am so ashamed of you." And just like that, something inside me snapped. The hurt, the confusion, it all burned away in a flash of white-hot rage. I looked from her, in another man's shirt, to the bag in my hand, to the smug, half-naked guy standing behind her. Ashamed of me? I dropped the bag of food. It hit the marble floor of the hallway with a wet thud. "Ashamed of me?" I roared, letting my voice echo in the quiet hallway. "You're supposed to be at a business conference, you lying, cheating piece of trash." Alex, the brother, finally spoke up, stepping forward. Whoa, man, who are you?" he said, putting a protective hand on Grace's arm. I laughed, a harsh, humorless sound. "I'm her boyfriend, the guy she lives with in the apartment you've probably heard all about." "Who the hell are you?" Alex's smug expression dissolved into confusion. He looked down at Grace, his grip on her arm tightening. "Boyfriend? What is he talking about? You told me you broke up with your ex months ago. You said he was a psycho who wouldn't leave you alone." He looked back at me, a flicker of recognition in his eyes. "Wait, you're Jake? She told me you were stalking her." The world stopped spinning and came into sharp, brutal focus. The lies were deeper than I could have imagined. I wasn't just the clueless boyfriend. I was the crazy, stalker ex in the story she was telling him. I took a step closer to them. "So I'm the crazy ex now?" I said, keeping my voice low so they knew I meant business. "Is that what you were thinking when you used my credit card to book your flight to this conference? Is that what you were thinking when you told me you loved me before you left?" Grace started to stammer, her eyes darting between us. It's not what it looks like." "Oh, it looks exactly like what it is," Alex shouted, turning on her. He was betrayed too, and his anger was just as raw as mine. "You've been playing me this whole time, using my apartment, telling me you're single, letting me think we were starting something real, all while you had a live-in boyfriend? What is wrong with you?" She started to cry then, the classic go-to defense. "I was confused," she sobbed, looking from me to him. "I didn't know what to do. I love you both." "You don't love anyone but yourself," I spat. I had never felt such a profound level of disgust for another human being in my entire life. The confrontation was messy, loud, and brutally public in that sterile apartment hallway. Doors on the floor were probably cracking open as our neighbors listened in. I didn't care. Finally, her tears dried up, replaced by a desperate panic. She looked at both of us, her face streaked with mascara. "Where am I supposed to go now?" she whimpered, the ultimate question of a person who has run out of options and expects someone else to provide a new one. I looked at her, standing there in another man's shirt, the embodiment of her own deceit. "I don't care," I said flatly. "But you have until noon tomorrow to get every last one of your things out of my apartment. If it's not gone by then, it's going to the curb." She turned her hopeful, tear-filled eyes to Alex. He just shook his head in disgust. "You are definitely not staying here," he said. "I want you out of my apartment, now." He reached behind him, grabbed her purse from a table, and tossed it into the hallway. Then he looked at me, then back at her, and slammed the door, leaving her alone in the hallway with her lies. I didn't stick around to watch the fallout. I just turned and walked away, leaving her standing there amidst the wreckage she had created. I didn't look back. The rage was still there, but it was being replaced by a chilling sense of purpose. This wasn't just a breakup, this was an eviction. I got back to Dave's car, my hands shaking with adrenaline. I called him, told him what happened. He was floored. He told me to take his car, go home, and do what I needed to do. The first thing I did when I got back to my apartment was change the locks. By 10 o'clock that night, every lock on my door was new. Her key was now just a useless piece of metal. Then I started packing. But I wasn't careful. I didn't use her fancy suitcases. I went to the closet where we kept a stash of heavy-duty black trash bags. I pulled them out and started clearing out her existence from my life. Clothes, shoes, makeup, books, everything went into the bags. I worked like a machine, fueled by a cold, methodical fury. By 2 a.m., her side of the closet was empty. Her drawers were bare. The bathroom counter was clear of her endless bottles and jars. It was like she had never been there. I piled all 30-something bags near the front door. Her calls and texts had started around 9 that evening. An endless barrage of frantic messages. I didn't answer a single one. I just let my phone buzz itself into silence. Then came the emails, long rambling pleas and accusations. I deleted them without reading. She showed up at the apartment around midnight, just as I was tying up the last bag. My doorbell camera sent a notification to my phone. I watched the live feed as she tried her key, her confusion turning to panic, then to rage. She started pounding on the door, screaming my name. I just sat on my couch in the dark, watching the silent movie of her meltdown. After 20 minutes, she finally gave up and slumped down in the hallway, a defeated heap. That's when I sent her a single text message. "Your things are packed. They will be on the curb outside the building at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. A truck is scheduled to haul away any abandoned property at 12:05 p.m. Be there or don't. It makes no difference to me." Then I blocked her number. The next morning at exactly 8 a.m., I started hauling the bags down in the service elevator. It took 4 trips. I piled them up on the sidewalk, a small mountain of black plastic that represented 2 years of my life. I went back upstairs and watched from my window. A little after 9, a car pulled up. It was her best friend Megan, another person I'd never really trusted. Grace got out of the passenger seat. She looked like she hadn't slept. They both looked at the mountain of trash bags with horror. It took them nearly an hour to load everything into Megan's small SUV, a process that involved a lot of angry shoving and muttered curses. As they drove away, I felt nothing. No sadness, no regret. Just emptiness. The real war, of course, started a few days later. The story she and Megan started spreading was a masterpiece of fiction. In their version, I was the monster. I had been acting jealous and controlling for months. I had somehow tracked her to her friend's apartment where she was staying to get some space from me, and then I had shown up in a violent rage, assaulted her, and thrown her out with nothing but the clothes on her back. I started getting texts from mutual friends asking for my side of the story. I knew a simple denial wouldn't be enough. I needed proof. And then, like a gift from the heavens, I got a text from an unknown number. It was Alex. His text was short and to the point. "Hey man, it's Alex. I'm sorry about all this. Grace is insane. She's been telling people you attacked us both. That's a lie and you know it. I have all the texts from her from the last few months where she was telling me she was single and that her crazy ex was harassing her. If you need me to back you up, I will. This woman is toxic." That was it. That was the silver bullet. I took a screenshot of his text. I forwarded it, along with a simple one-sentence explanation of my own, to our entire group of mutual friends. For anyone who has heard Grace's story, here's the guy she was with, in his own words. She lied to everyone. The social dynamic shifted almost instantly. The questions stopped. The accusations turned into messages of support for me. Grace's smear campaign had been torpedoed by the one person she needed to corroborate her story. But she wasn't done. Her family got involved. Her mother called me, screaming about how I had abandoned her daughter in her time of need. I listened to her for about 30 seconds before I cut her off. I didn't yell, just let her hear the ice in my words. "Your daughter is a liar and a cheat. She's lucky all I did was throw her things on the curb. You should be more concerned about the character of the person you raised. Do not call me again." I hung up. The next day I got a voicemail from her father. It was rambling, angry, and vaguely threatening. He said things like, "You'll regret this," and "You don't know who you're messing with." I didn't feel threatened. I just felt tired of it all. I saved the voicemail. The final act of her desperation came a week later. I work from home 2 days a week, and I had a huge project deadline with a major client. The night before it was due, my internet went out. Just dead. I reset the router, checked the cables, nothing. I called my internet provider, and after 45 minutes on hold, they told me something that made my blood run cold. There were no outages in my area. My service had been canceled that afternoon. When I demanded to know who had authorized the cancellation, they told me it was done online. using the account holder's security information. Security information that Grace, as an authorized user on my account, had known. I had changed all the main passwords, but I had forgotten about the stupid internet account. She had done it on purpose, a calculated act of sabotage to mess with my job. I managed to finish my project by using my phone as a hotspot, but I was seething. This had crossed a line from a messy breakup into active harassment. I knew where she was staying. A friend had mentioned she was crashing on Megan's couch. The next morning, I drove over there. I banged on the door until Megan opened it, looking startled. Grace was standing behind her, a look of smug satisfaction on her face that quickly vanished when she saw the look on mine. I was so angry, I was shaking. "This stops now," I said. I held up my phone and played her father's threatening voicemail. Their eyes went wide. Then last night, my internet was mysteriously canceled, the night before a major work deadline. An act of sabotage that could have cost me my job. I took a step forward, and they both instinctively took a step back. Here's what's going to happen. You, your friends, and your family are going to leave me alone. Forever. If I get one more phone call, one more text, or if so much as my Netflix account gets mysteriously logged out, I am taking this voicemail, along with the phone records of your harassment and a sworn statement about the internet sabotage, and I am going to the police to file for a restraining order. Do you understand me? They were both pale, silent. The reality of legal consequences was something they hadn't considered. Grace tried one last time, her voice cracking, the tears starting to form. "But Jake, I made a mistake. What about us?" I just looked at her, the woman I had once loved, and felt nothing but pity and disgust. "There is no us," I said. "You torched that idea when you packed your bags for a fake business trip." I turned around and walked away without another word. I got in my car and drove home. I blocked her number, Megan's number, and the numbers of her parents. I sat in my quiet, clean apartment, the silence a welcome relief. I poured myself a drink and deleted every picture I had of her. It was finally over.